This activity, called What Is It?, will give the children an example of persistence. Now, our example is the story of how Silly Putty became a worldwide product. Now, for this activity, you'll be using some Silly Putty as an example. If you don't want to have Silly Putty for every small group, you could just use a picture from an advertisement or something like that. But another good idea to help the children remember the lesson would be to give each child an egg of Silly Putty to take home. Lead the activity like this. All right, guys, today we've been learning about being persistent and telling other people about Jesus. And because we're learning about persistence, I want to tell you a story that's a great example of persistence. It's about a man who tried over and over to get people and companies to buy an amazing toy that I know you've all heard of. But I won't tell you that till the end, okay? So I'm going to tell you the story, and then at the end I'll give you some clues. All right, so in 1943, there was a shortage of rubber. Now, at this time, rubber was used for many things, including boots, tires, and car parts. A man named James Wright was trying to create a synthetic or a man-made rubber. One of the compounds he created had unusual properties. Okay? It would stretch long distances when it was pulled gently, but it would snap if it was pulled sharply. And when it was formed into a ball, it bounced very high, higher than regular normal rubber balls. Now, Mr. Wright tried to get some engineers to find a use for the product, but no one could find a use for it. So for a few years, the product was passed around at parties just kind of as a curiosity. People thought it was interesting, but they didn't really think it would ever amount to anything. No one except Peter Hogston. Now, in 1950, Hogston took the product to the International Toy Fair. Wouldn't you like to go to the toy fair?
Yeah.
I would. Hogston took the product to the International Toy Fair. Almost everyone there told him to give up on it. It wasn't worth anything. But because of his persistence, a couple of stores decided to sell it. Now, a few months later, a reporter for a magazine wrote a story about the product. And interest from the story caused orders to increase. And then by 1957, the product was on national television, on children's programming, and began to go around the world. It's pretty amazing. Now, I've got a few clues that might help you. This first one's kind of hard. I don't know if it's going to help. The Apollo 8 astronauts took some to the moon with them in 1968. They took it to the moon, yeah. That didn't help much. Okay. All right. It was called the Real Solid Liquid and the Toy with One Moving Part. No? No guesses? No? Okay. This one I think will help you. It was sold in small plastic eggs.
It's
What's it called? Do you remember?
Silly Putty.
Silly Putty. That's right. In fact, I have some right here. Look at that. There's a little egg. You open it up, and inside is the Silly Putty. Here, let's pass that around everybody, break off a little piece of it and play with it. You know, because Peter Hogston was persistent, Silly Putty went around the world and brought joy to millions and millions of children the world over. But it was only because he was persistent that it was able to do that. You know, otherwise, it never would have gone anywhere. You would never have heard of it, and none of us would ever know about Silly Putty. Now, interesting thing is, persistence is also what we need when we tell other people about Jesus. You know, when we tell people about Jesus, they might say no, they might say yes, they might listen to us, they might not, but no matter what happens, we need to be persistent and keep telling people about Jesus, all right? You know, this toy brings a lot of joy to people, but Jesus has the potential to bring way more joy to people's lives than Silly Putty. So we definitely need to be persistent and tell more and more people about Jesus.